America had just gone through something it had never experienced before, and that was the elevation of a man to the presidency for whom they had not voted. Only through their representatives on Capitol Hill had this man been voted into this office. America was experiencing something that was quite new to them, but also something that they welcomed. Gerald Ford wanted to pardon Richard Nixon for two main reasons. One was because he felt like the president should not focus on the problem of one person, but should be focused on the problem of 215 million Americans. He believed that Richard Nixon had suffered enough because he became the only president in America's history to resign, and that's disgrace. And if he could get the president to accept that pardon, then that is in and of itself an admission of guilt by Richard Nixon, and that ought to be sufficient for the American people to move this to a conclusion so that the nation, the president and the nation, could focus on the problems that they had. And Richard Nixon was just taking up too much of his time. And the power he had on his desk as President of the United States was to pardon him, and that got it off his desk.
So, Operation Baby Lift was the evacuation of thousands of young children and babies out of Vietnam. Many people had already been evacuated from the area, and when Ford learned that there was, orphanages full of children who now were parentless, or whose parents had died during the war, or parents could not care for them in time of war, were kind of left there with their futures uncertain. So he went to Congress to ask for more money and more resources to evacuate the babies, and Congress actually denied that and said, no, we're kind of washing our hands of the situation now. We've got our people out and we don't want anything else to do with it. So babies and people that were there to help were loaded onto these planes and sent out as quickly as possible. And sadly, one of those planes did crash, and the passengers perished, which of course is extremely sad, and no one would want that as the outcome. But you also, again, have to frame it as, here you are, the leader in this time of war, and again, it's a life or death, very grave decision that's on your shoulders to make. And ultimately, thousands of children were brought to safety and then put into foster homes where they were raised, in homes where they could be healthy and safe. It had this sense of compassion for other people and a really deep-seated sense of responsibility that the United States was very much responsible for a lot of the conflict that had happened and for the fate of these children. So he was able to kind of go around that congressional decision and find resources and people to help to make Operation Baby Lift happen. So.